Hello everyone, Vince here with a cold open just to say that we actually found something in the broadcasting tower left as a present in honor of 100 episodes. So we're going to play that clip now. We hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Sariel.
And I'm Umberto.
And we're the hosts of So You Think You Can Rule Persia, a podcast where we rate and review all the kings of Persia from Diocles to Mohammad Reza Pahlavi.
Join us for a look at the rulers of Iran, from the Medians to the modern day, with plenty in between.
We'll be discussing the lives and myths of the rulers of Persia before ranking them all and deciding who is really worthy of the title of King of Kings.
We finished our first season, reaching to the end of the Sassanid Empire, but we've just started up a second season from the rise of Islam all the way to 1979.
We hope to have you along for the ride.
Hello everyone and welcome to Autocrat. This is episode, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, 100.
Wow.
Lots has happened since we first started, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah.
I mean, as you probably know from our little edict, we're now parents. I mean, we're currently recording with the little princess fast asleep in my arms.
Yeah,
So hopefully she does not wake up during the recording.
hopefully. I might edit it out if she does, if you're lucky.
But yeah, we've reached episode 100, and I think it is an episode that you've all been really looking forward to, because it's now the beginning of everything, really.
Yeah, and that is the title, actually. We didn't mention the episode had a title. It's called And Now the Beginning.
Yeah, that's basically everything that we've been leading to. And we're gonna start actually getting into proper Roman history now, I believe.
Yeah, it only took us, I have no idea how many hours. I'll try and calculate that and add it in the description. But it only took us 99 episodes to actually get to the point.
I mean, that's not too bad,
No.
But yeah, without making you wait any longer than we've already been doing...
She says, making us wait longer.
Yes. Let's start with a new source, actually, which I believe is called Paterculus?
Yes, so this is a source written during the time of Emperor Tiberius, so between about the years 14 and 37, and the author in question is called Velleius Paterculus. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But he is new for today. Are you excited?
Yeah.
He dates the founding of... By the way, we finally uncovered what that city's name is.
We did!
It's called Rome.
No.
Rome? Rome?
Rome.
Rome.
Roma?
Roma.
Rome.
I like it. So, the founding of Rome is in what's known as the 6th Olympiad. Is this a term you're familiar with at all?
Not really, actually.
Well, it's a system of measuring time counting forwards from when the Olympic Games were first introduced.
Yeah.
So according to conventional wisdom, they started in the year 776 BCE, and an Olympiad was a period of 4 years. So a bit like how now you have the Olympic Games in 2012, 2016, 2020, and so on. That was the measurement system.
Okay.
So, the 6th Olympiad would therefore have been between 756 and 752 BCE. More specifically, the founding of Rome is placed 22 years after the Olympic Games are founded. So this would be the year 754 into 753. Paterculus says that this is 437 years after Troy was conquered by the Greeks, which would date Troy's destruction in 1170 BCE. Now, yes, that's probably a different date again for the founding of Troy, but don't worry about it, not the point today. He also gives us a location. It was founded on the Palatine Hill, which we've come back to a few times now with Alba Longa.
We have, yeah.
Finally, we get a day of the year. This is the day of the festival of Parilia, which took place on the 21st of April.
Nice. What day of the week was that?
I didn't think to look that up. I am going to say Wednesday.
Yeah, why not?
I will maybe fact check myself in an edit, if not, but we'll see. Editing Vince here. This was actually surprisingly difficult to find out because most date and time calculators which calculate days of the week do not like the idea of BCE or negative years. So essentially I've had to calculate backwards from the year 1 CE, so I hope my calculations are in any way correct. But if we take leap years into account, which do change how the days of the week shift per year, I believe April 21st, 753 BCE would have been a Tuesday, which means I was very close, but unfortunately no cigar. Anyway, back to the episode. So, we have a date for Rome's foundation, the 21st of April, 753 BCE. Now let's talk about what Paterculus says for the rest. Supposedly, Romulus, who, yes, found the city, we'll get onto that in a moment, got help from the soldiers of his grandfather, although Paterculus calls this grandfather Latinus rather than Numitor. As we've seen before, there's been some confusion about how exactly the lineage works. Paterculus doesn't believe an alternate theory that Romulus used a gang of shepherds to found the city, as he doesn't think they would have had the necessary skills in warfare. After all, the area where Rome is founded is close to hostile forces, such as the Etruscan city of Veii, the Sabines, and indeed the rest of the Etruscans. All of this will not mean anything yet, but trust me, those names are going to keep coming back.
Okay.
Romulus then gave 100 men in the city the rank of fathers, or patres, which is where we get the class name of patricians for the elite. Again, that's going to come back a lot, this idea of a class divide. This is something we'll also refer to again when we deal with the reign of Romulus in future episodes. However, I have some sad news for you.
Oh.
This is where the manuscript we have for Paterculus abruptly cuts off. With the exception of one line of text, we won't see him again until 179 BCE.
Alright.
So that's that source gone for the next 6 centuries. It's infuriating.
I bet.
When I first ordered the book, I thought, this is brilliant. There's going to be so much information about early Roman history. No, there isn't. We get 1 page. So say goodbye to Paterculus for the foreseeable future.
Goodbye, Paterculus.
You're not in primary school.
Well, in any case, we're gonna turn to Cassius Dio, who I hope has a bit more information.
Well, I think anyone would have more information than Paterculus.
Right. So, Dio has a bit of an odd story there.
Okay.
He says that there are 2 Romes, 2 Romuluses and 2 Remuses.
Right.
Who knows why? One is older than the other, and we are dealing with the more recent one.
Okay, I'm not sure what to make of any of that, really.
Well, regardless of you not being sure of what to make of that, Cassius Dio confirmed that Rome is founded on the Palatine hill near where Faustulus lived.
Oh yeah, our shepherd friend.
Rome is supposedly founded when the twins are 18 years old, hence their births here in 771 BCE, or, thereabouts.
Yeah, roughly.
However, the twins started arguing about who would rule the new city they founded.
Yes, I definitely did make a typo there. It says the new city they were founded, so typo jingle is allowed, however much I regret it.
He spelled that wrong! He spelled that wrong!
Now, in the scrap of, the argument and probably the fighting, Remus dies.
Ooh.
Just like in Harry Potter 7. Remus dies as well.
This isn't Harry Potter.
From this incident came the tradition that anyone who crossed over the trenches into camps and not by the regular entrances would, die.
Yeah, we'll explain why in a moment.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Theory. Was there a Romulus Lupin who wasn't a werewolf and so Remus ripped him to shreds?
Maybe.
That would be a nice twist on the myth.
In any case, that's the end of Cassius Dio, and we turn to Livy.
Yep, we do indeed. Now remember that in our discussion with Livy, we left off with Numitor being reacclaimed as king of Alba Longa. His grandsons were at the head of their armies processing and hailing him. However, as you might have gathered from the fact we're talking about this isn't the end of the story for our twins. They now wanted to found a city on the site where they'd been left to die and then rescued all those years ago. It's an area with 7 hills, don't know if you know it. Fairly famous.
Rome?
Yes, it's Rome. Alba Longa had too high a population at this point, given that there were Latins, Albans, or Trojan descendants I suppose, and now the herders that the twins had brought in all living there. So we need a bit of an overspill town. Romulus and Remus had visions of both Alba and Lavinium paling compared to this new settlement. It would be glorious. So they set to work. However, family strife would plague them just as it had in their grandfather's generation. This is because the question arose of who exactly was going to rule this new city. After all, there wasn't an older brother between the, twins to unambiguously take charge, so it was really an open question as to who exactly should have power. So they decide to settle the matter by means of omens from the gods.
Could it be he's divine, or is this all a waste of time?
They each went to a hill. Romulus went to the Palatine and Remus went to the Aventine. They then looked to the skies to see which one of them the gods favoured to rule.
How is that going to work?
I'll tell you how it's going to work. Remus saw 6 vultures in the sky, which is a good omen, and notably he saw them first, before Romulus did.
Right, so the issue settled then?
Well, Remus certainly thought so, as the sight was trumpeted out to the populace. However, at that instant, as it was being announced, Romulus saw 12 vultures.
Right, so who's won then?
Exactly. And by the way, I don't know if this is actually confirmed that they agreed on whoever sees them first, but it feels to me a lot like Romulus is the younger brother saying, no, I'm changing the rules, it's actually who sees the most vultures. There's a bit of a disagreement at this point. The partisans of both sides claim their man as king of this new city. The discussion became heated and it descended into fighting. In the struggle, Remus was, as you said with Cassius Dio, killed. An alternative telling, which Livy says is more often told, is that Remus jumped over the half-built walls of the new city as a mocking gesture to his brother. Romulus then became enraged and killed him, vowing that anyone else who scaled the fortifications of the city should also die. So, Romulus became sole ruler and the city was named after him. This is...
Rome!
Rome! Now, let's get some more details from other sources.
Appian tells us a lot.
He does, so much.
Yeah. He gives us actually nothing new.
Yeah.
But he does say Romulus ruled as a father over the people of Rome.
Lovely. Thank you, Appian, helpful as always. Now, we've next got Dionysius of Halicarnassus. In his Roman Antiquities, he places 432 years between Troy and Rome. The Albans sent a colony of Alba Longa out under Romulus and Remus to found a city, hence why there are people with them in the first place. Interestingly, there exists an ancient account cited by Dionysius where a man called Romus, son of Aeneas, actually founds Rome. There are also other sons of Aeneas called Ascanius, Euryleon, Romulus, and Romus. There's also a tradition where a woman called Rome married Latinus and had sons Romus, Romulus, and Telegonus. Now, Romus might also have been a son of Odysseus and Circe, according to one tradition, but we've talked about the association between Rome and Odysseus in episode 85.
Go check it out.
Yeah, the point is, Romulus and Remus is the mainly agreed upon version, but isn't actually the only version of how Rome gets founded. Now, you might think Remus only has the role of dying, right?
Clearly, so far.
Well, although being listed as a brother of Ascanius here, he's supposed to have founded the cities of Capua, Anchisa, and Aeneia. Now, these were apparently named after Capys, Anchises, and Aeneas. And if I remember correctly from when I last went to Italy, he's also said to have founded the city of Siena in Tuscany, so he's got around a bit. Rome is also listed by Dionysus as one of the cities he founded, but I'm not going to deal with it, that just complicates matters. We're sticking with the Romulus Remus story. It was Numitor, apparently, who originally suggested the whole omen contest when the two boys brought their disagreement to him as an arbitrator. He probably thought, there's no way this is going to go wrong, just look for some vultures, it'll be fine. Remus may have either gone to the Aventine or to a region called, are you ready for this? Remoria.
Very funny.
I'm guessing that's what he wanted to call the city. So we could have had not the Roman Empire, but the Remorian Empire.
That sounds so funny.
It does sound like something out of a fantasy novel, though, doesn't it?
It does.
Anyway, when the fighting was going on, the shepherd Faustulus, who, remember, basically raised the boys, threw himself into the mix and was killed. He died trying to stop the fighting between the sons he had essentially brought up from babyhood. Romulus buried Remus at Remoria, the region where he'd wanted to found his city. Romulus became depressed after his brother died and essentially wanted to end things. However, Laurentia comforted him, and remember this is the wife of Faustulus, and he rose and led the 3,000 men remaining to the Palatine to found the city of Rome.
Very cool. Well, we now turn to Sixtus Aurelius Victor,
Yep.
who tells us that Romulus won the vulture contest, but Victor just says that the rule were always whoever saw the most won.
Okay, so just saying that Romulus won outright.
We also learned the name of the man who killed Remus.
Okay.
This was apparently a centurion called Fabius Sylla, who killed him from a blow from a spade.
What?
Or maybe a mattock.
Oh,
Maybe was he digging a ditch?
yeah. And by the way, yes, really. I've got a French language version of Victor, but that seems to be what the translation says. Anyway, that's all we get from him, our spade boy and some controversy. So what about Plutarch?
Well, Plutarch tells us that the ground where Romulus wanted to found the city was called the Rome Quadrata, or the Square Rome.
Okay.
Remus chose a well-protected area on the Aventine hill called the Remonium.
The names are just terrible. You can see why Rome won out.
Yeah, I can see that. Romulus might also have made up that he saw 12 birds as a retort to Remus.
Oh, that's sneaky. Just making it up as it gets announced. Well, I saw 12 actually, so I win.
Now, Remus might have figured out that Romulus had cheated and thus jumped over the ditch Romulus was digging as part of the foundation of the walls.
Okay.
Remus then was killed by either Romulus or Sylla.
Okay.
Faustulus and his brother Plistinus, who also helped bring the boys up, also died in the scuffle.
Alright, I mean that seems to be agreed on by multiple sources now that Faustulus dies here.
Sylla then ran away to Tuscany after the deed, and because of this the Romans called people who were fast celeres,
Wow.
which does mean fast.
Yeah. Now, there was even a man called Quintus Metellus, who later on gave impressive gladiatorial games for his father's funeral, and the people actually called him Celer, or Keller, I'm not sure, as a cognomen because of all the travels he went through to get the games ready. So basically it becomes a byword for people who run around madly. Now, as before, Remus, Faustulus and Plistinus are all buried on Mount Remoria. Wow, that is a terrible name.
It is a terrible name.
Romulus summoned Tuscan men to help with the religious rituals associated with founding the city. First of all, a ditch was made around the court of assembly, and the first fruits of all kinds were thrown into the area. Then, each man took a bit of dirt from where he was born and threw it into this comitium. This area was then named Mundus, or the world, which seems nice and humble, and was made the centre of the city. Essentially, the city is going to wrap around this Comitium or Mundus region. Romulus then yoked up a plough and marked out the boundaries. The 21st of April, when the city's construction began, was maintained as holy by the Romans afterwards. The main other thing Plutarch gives us is the supposed date of the conception of Romulus.
Side by side.
Alright.
This apparently comes from a source he is citing called Varro.
I'm guessing we do not have that source.
I don't think we do. He worked out that Romulus's conception came in the first year of the second Olympiad, so 772 BCE. This was apparently in the 23rd day of the month called, I'm going to mess this up, Choeac, Choeac, by the Egyptians, at the 3rd hour after the sun had set. Now this was so specific, I had to dig into this.
I can tell you it roughly means the 23rd of December.
Yes, you can tell that because it's in my notes.
No, I just know it.
Okay, you know all about ancient Egyptian months, do you?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, based on my research of rough sunset times in the region, that the sunset would have been at about 5 p.m. So Romulus was conceived at 8 p.m. on the 23rd of December, 772 BCE. You heard it here first. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure, why not?
He was apparently born at about sunrise on the 21st day of the month of Thoth. This would have been the 18th of September, 771 BCE. So, hey, we know his birthday.
You know, apparently there was an eclipse when he was born.
Yes, and bad news, again, I looked into this. There was one on June 24th and one on November 19th, 771 BCE, but not one in September, according to a catalogue of solar eclipses I've been using.
It might not have been recorded.
It might not have been, but at least it's very cool that we know there are eclipses at roughly this time period.
It is pretty cool.
So, let's mop up some more sources at the end here, shall we?
Yeah. Ovid just confirms the April 21st date. Nothing else.
Nice. Moving on. Efficiency. Let's turn to a chronicle of the Roman Republic we've got, which says that Plutarch's version of the Roman foundation story apparently comes from the historian Fabius Pictor. Now, Pictor's account was written in about 235 BCE, and he got it from an even earlier source, which was Diocles of Peparethus. Again, we don't have these, I don't think.
That's sad.
Now, archaeology shows us that the Palatine Hill was, in fact, the first one to be settled, historically speaking, which matches with the myth. Back in the mythology side of things, Romulus made a temple, which Plutarch says was to the god Aeschylus, and declared that if you were inside it, you could not be arrested or taken out of it. It's from this that we get our word for asylum.
Oh, that's interesting.
This is because Sile, or Sile, not sure, was the Greek word for the right to seize, and the Greek prefix a means lack of or without. So you see this, for example, with, if I think back to my biological training, gnathostomes meaning, I think, organisms with teeth, and agnathostomes meaning organisms without teeth.
That is such a very specific niche thing.
It's the first one I could think of, and I'm not even sure it's correct. If it's not seeing the light of day in the episode. Editing Vince here again. I obviously had to check this fact, and unfortunately my half-remembered fact was, it turns out, half-remembered and therefore not perfect. Gnathostomes are actually creatures which have jaws, the distinction isn't teeth. And so, by extension, agnathostomes, or agnathans as they're also called, are creatures which don't have jaws. Teeth don't come into the picture at all. Which is unfortunate, but hey, this was a fact from memory from a couple of years ago, so I'm impressed I was at least slightly close, but I figured I had to correct it for accuracy's sake. Anyway, back to the episode. A problem did spring up for the future, though, with this decision. the refuge status of the temple was appealing to a lot more men than it was to women, because men were the ones doing the crimes that needed to be hidden in the temple. So Rome found itself to be very male-heavy, if you will, which could be a problem in future. So, our final source for today.
It is Robinson.
Yes, Cyril Robinson's History of the Roman Republic.
We get some more historical details.
Okay.
The Italians belonged to an overreaching people group known as the Indo-Europeans. They first show up around the Alps in about 2000 BCE and built huts far out into lakes on stilts for protection.
Nice.
They moved more onto the land itself as of around 1500 BCE.
Okay.
The region around Rome itself was settled as far back as 1000 BCE. We see that the Romans fudged the timeline a bit to connect themselves back to Aeneas and the Trojan War. Something we're guessing we can see in the fact that there are two competing versions of how Romulus is connected to Aeneas.
Yeah.
The Palatine was decided as the site for the city. We're assuming Romulus won the argument over the vultures and, Romulus builds the city, Remus dies, and so on and on.
Yeah. So, there you have it. That is the foundation story of Rome. If I were to summarise it very quickly based on all these versions, one way or another, Romulus and Remus get bored and decide to found a city together, but they disagree about where it's going to be and who's going to be in charge. They have a vulture spotting race, and in the world's deadliest bird spotting competition, Fallout, we get a scuffle, Remus dies one way or another, Romulus founds a city and calls it Rome.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you all for listening. As mentioned, we're not sure when the next episode will be out, so just keep an ear out and it will be out at some point.
Yeah.
We're doing our best.
Yeah, exactly. But we hope you're all enjoying being actually in Roman history now, and until next time, have a great week, everyone.
Or a month or a decade, who knows?
Have a good time, everyone.
Yeah.